Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Mike's on radio.com on this holiday, this Martin Luther King holiday Monday, as we look ahead to the Super Bowl and look back at Championship Sunday. So we don't have to spend any time talking about suspensions or sign stealing. We can actually talk about two games played yesterday and look ahead to one on this day where we remember Dr. King and if you've never taken the time to read and go over or listen to the "I Have a Dream" speech, do it because probably as good a speech as ever been crafted and delivered in this country. As a matter of fact, I was just looking up a thing before I came on the air. That speech was delivered on August 28th, 1963, on the March on Washington, uh, and before it, King had been up the night before and he had two collaborators on the speech, Stanley Levinson and Clarence Jones, who had written a good bulk of the speech. He worked on it until 4 o'clock in the morning the night before, and said that tomorrow he was going to deliver his Gettysburg Address, which he did. That's how good it is. It's that special and iconic speech, and really remarkable if you take the time to listen to it or to read it. Just read through it. It's just unbelievable. So it's that. I like great speeches. It's just unbelievable how good it is. All right, let's get to some football. And you come out of the day and you hope you have a good Super Bowl because you spend 2 tedious weeks trying to build the game up. You have a very competitive game. You have a lot of storylines. You got new stars. You got some themes. They got plenty there for this game. It should be well balanced for the Chiefs. Have opened as depending where you are, a 1 or a 1.5 point favorite. The early money has been Kansas City. The San Francisco money will probably come later. I doubt this game will get even a point up. I don't think anybody will be as high as a 2.5 point favorite in this game. I don't believe that will ever happen. I think it'll be probably somewhere around one or pick or right around there. I think there'll probably be some late San Francisco money. I wouldn't be surprised if the game went off pick or went off one, Kansas City. It's that close. Two very good teams with a lot to offer. As far as yesterday, Mahomes, as always, is the case with the quarterback, has gotten all the headlines and got all the credit. And listen, he did yesterday what we've come to know Mahomes will do in a game. Make the passes he has to make an exciting run, which he did right before the half. We know how good he is. He's on the verge of, and that's one of the storylines, on the verge of becoming the face of the NFL. He is the next face of the NFL. As Tom gets old and some of the other star quarterbacks get old, he's going to be the guy you see on commercials. He's going to be one of the faces of the league. There's no question, if not the face of the league. So I think he's headed in that direction. But to me, that game was won yesterday by the often criticized, highly inconsistent, and often befuddling Kansas City defense. They, to me, won that game because they got off to another slow start. They committed bad penalties, bad offside penalties, bad penalties on 3rd and long, committing terrible pass interference penalties. So they did what Kansas City unfortunately does too often, commit a lot of mistakes. And now in these two playoff games, get off to very slow starts. They've scored 7 points in the first quarter of 2 games. They've scored 42 points in the second quarter of 2 games. But to me, this game turned on their defensive play because after Kansas City gets back to 17-14, in typical Kansas City fashion, down 17-7, Tennessee's running the ball well, making a couple of plays extra now because Kansas City walked so many guys into the box. They challenged him to throw the ball. He did throw the ball more than he had in the last couple of games. He connected on a couple of pass plays, and they're up 17-7. They score relatively easily to make it 17-14. And this is, to me, where the game changed. Right there, there's 3.5 minutes left in the first half. You know that Kansas City gets the ball to start the second half. You know that on their last drive, they started getting that rhythmic precision that you worry about once they get, they're unstoppable. and you have to do something with the football. What they do with the football, they went 3-and-out. Kansas City got the ball back. Mahomes made the classic run. So now they go into the half 17 down 21-17. They're up 17-7. They're down 21-17. Kansas City's getting the ball. They get a stop. Okay, Kansas City moves the ball a little bit, but has to punt. Tennessee gets the ball, and now if Tennessee is going to stamp this game, they're going to stamp it right there, just like they did against the Pats, just like they did especially against the Ravens, and just show you that they're going to take the ball, run the clock, pound the ball, overpower you with the running back, and instead they got one first down and had to punt it back. They punt it back. They come back and score. Now it's 28-17. They get the ball back. They get one first down and have to punt it back again. Now it's 35-17. You're into the fourth quarter. Now the clock and the score have taken the back out of the game. So Kansas City took him out of the game in the third quarter because on 5 carries, he had 1 yard, no yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, no yards. No one had done that to him against New England. Nobody had done that to him against Baltimore. Kansas City did that to him yesterday. 1 yard, no yard, 3 yards, 4 yards, no yards. Lost yards on 2 pass plays. So now Henry's not dominating anything. And now the Kansas City offense is going about the business you know it's going to go about, especially at home. And then they're up 35-17, 7 minutes left in the game, 7 and change in the game. Hey, clock and score have now taken the running game out of the building. That's it. They don't have to play defense against Henry anymore. There's no defense for Henry anymore. He's not going to play. He's out of the offense. So now you've played right into their hands. They get a score. Kansas City gets the ball back, keeps it until there's 2 minutes left in the game. Game, set, match, and the Chiefs are off, and everyone writes about Mahomes, and everyone writes about Hill, and everyone writes about Sammy Watkins. But what they should have been writing about was the Kansas City defense, often criticized, much maligned, but yesterday made the plays in that pivotal part of the game and allowed the offense to do what the offense does virtually every week. There's no headline in Kansas City scoring somewhere between 28 and 35 points. They do that every week. That's what they are. That's who they are. 1 week it's Kelsey, next week it's Hill. It's always Mahomes getting touchdown passes. 1 week it's a back, 1 week it's a tight end, 1 week it's Hill, it's Watkins, it's this, it's that. We know how good they are, and they know how fast they are. We know how good the weapons are. And yesterday, though, to me, it was the defense that bowed its neck and made the plays and shut down the game. After a 17-7 start, Kansas City went 28-7 in the bulk of that game. 28-7, and shut down the Tennessee running game. 19 carries, 69 yards. That's not like we saw the last couple of weeks, or not like we saw the last time he played Kansas City when they beat him 35-32, and he had almost 200 yards. This guy had been a runaway train, not yesterday. Kansas City and Spags, they did their job. Were they utterly brilliant? No, they had too many penalties and silly things early in the game. But the bottom line is, when the game was there, when the rhythm of the game was, they needed to complement that prolific offense. When they needed to be there to complement that offense, they were there and did their job. And if they do their job to that tune, where they can force punts and they can keep opposing running games, including the San Francisco running game they'll see in the Super Bowl, which has been so dominant, it's 2 playoff wins. If they can keep that from dominating the game and moving the chains and keeping the clock moving and giving the ball back to their offense, well, then, you know what? They're going to hold another trophy over their heads in a couple of weeks. That's all they need. They need their defense to be complementary. It doesn't have to be dominant. It doesn't have to get a ton of sacks. It doesn't have to score the football. It doesn't have to give the Chiefs a short field. They don't need any of that. What they need is the ball. And their defense yesterday in the bulk of the game gave them the ball because they were able to do the thing you have to do if you're the Kansas City defense, and that is you have to give them a chance. You have to give them a chance to get the ball back. That's what they need. They need the ball back because that's what it's about with them. It's about getting the ball because when they have the ball, they're going to score. And you just can't let the other team just take the ball and stick it down their throat or put it in the end zone or keep it for the whole quarter. That can't happen because when that happens, like it did with that incredible drive that Tennessee ran to go up 17-7. Tennessee in that drive went 1st and 10, then 2nd and 6, then 1st and 10, then 1st and 10, then 2nd and 10, then 3rd and 7, 3rd and 2, 1st and 10, 2nd and 5, 1st and 10, 1st and 20, 2nd 22, first down, touchdown, boom. They had the ball forever. They had the ball 15 plays. They kept the ball forever, and they go up 17, and they score. You know what? Big problem. Big problem. Not the way Kansas City's going to win. But after they get it to 17-14, what happens? 3 plays and out. They get the ball back, 17-14, 3:57 left in the second quarter. Henry for 1. Henry for no gain. 6-yard gain on a third-round pass. Punt the ball. Now it goes from 17-14 down to 21-17 into the half. Kansas City gets the ball to start the third quarter. They get it out to midfield, and they punt it. So now Tennessee, down 21-17, has to make a stand, has to get something going, right? They ran 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plays and punted the ball back. That was a great job again. 7 plays they can live with. Punt the ball back. Never even broke their 40-yard line. Punt the ball back. Now what they do, they punt it back. And now as the third quarter turns into the fourth, Kansas City goes into the end zone, and now they lead 28-17. So Tennessee gets the ball back, and now they have to. There's only 13 minutes left in the game. Now they've got to score. What happens? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plays. Punt it back. 35-17, game, set, match. 3 plays, 7 plays, 4 plays. Each time, Kansas City made a defensive stand, and each time Kansas City got the ball back and scored and turned the losing game into a game that was decided with 7 minutes left. Their defense did exactly what it had to do. It turned the game around. After looking so poor in the first quarter, after committing so many penalties early in the game and foolish plays and not stopping the run and then not handling the play action when they ran 9 guys into the box and got eaten up across the middle. You know what? They made the adjustments they had to make. They got a bigger lift out of Chris Jones, and they stopped the big back. That's what it came down to. A back who had so dominated the sport for a couple of weeks. Not only had he dominated the sport on a level for this year, he had dominated the sport on a level we haven't seen in years and years. That's how good it was. I mean, it was special what he was doing. He was getting 200 yards a game. He was putting up numbers that were staggering, absolutely staggering what he was doing. I mean, you're talking about in a wild card game, 34 for 182 in the win over the Patriots. 34 for 182. And then the win against the team they couldn't beat, the unbeatable team. A lot of people thought the best team in the league. 30 for 195 against Baltimore. 30 for 195. So now they're going to play the woefully inconsistent Kansas City Chiefs without a healthy Chris Jones. 19 for 69. 85 yards rushing for the entire game. And a bulk of points there where they went from 17 14 down to 35-17 up. 21-0 in that time. And if you want to take it from 17-7, 28-0 in that bulk of the game. They scored 4 touchdowns, and in that time, Tennessee got nothing. Kansas City gave them nothing. So in that bulk of the game, from 17-7 up, they outscored them 28-0. And their defense played exactly the complementary game it has to play to win. No, they're not going to read about themselves in the paper. They're not going to be the headline makers. That belongs to Mahomes. Splashed across every headline today is Mahomes did this and Mahomes did that. That's fine. That's the way the game works. We know who the star is going to be. Mahomes and Kelsey and Hill, and we understand that. And the defense understands that. But if they're going to win a championship, they're going to have that kind of middle of the game again, because they're going to face another brutal running attack. This time a little different one. This one handed down from father to son, which we'll get to in a little while. But here are the Chiefs, and it is a fascinating storyline, because it's not just, if you're old enough, it's not just Andy and all the things that he has to deal with and all the demons that he has to deal with. It's also Mahomes. And now he emerging at 24 as the face of the league, the new star. But it's also that Kansas City lost the Super Bowl to the great Packer team with Lenny Dawson, Otis Taylor. Came back with Stram in Super Bowl IV, which was a pivotal Super Bowl. Why? For a couple of reasons. Number one, because the year before the Jets had upset the Colts, the great Joe Namath guarantee, the game that forced the merger, you know all the things about it, okay? But a lot of people didn't believe. A lot of the media that was NFL media didn't believe. They thought it was a fluke. Some even said there was nefarious things going on with the Colts. Well, Namath had said, hey, I play against the Kansas City Chiefs. I play against the Oakland Raiders. They're as good as any teams you got in your league. They're better. Well, the Kansas City Chiefs went in the next year with Hank Stram and played Bud Grant's Minnesota Vikings. And the Chiefs were a 12.5-point underdog. Nobody had learned anything from the year before when the Jets had embarrassed the Colts. And you know what happened? The Chiefs embarrassed the Vikings. And now everyone did believe. So the Jet game shocked the world. The Chief game the next year convinced everybody there's no difference. Their teams are as good as our teams. As the merger went into effect and, had to change and everything else. But the bottom line is, then, at that time, as it was happening, no one believed in those AFL teams yet. And you know what? The Chiefs stamped it with that win. But the other thing was, Hank brought the offense, quote-unquote offense of the 70s to the game and embarrassed the vaunted Purple People Eaters. I mean, you've seen that classic NFL films. If you haven't, go watch it, where Hank's calling the plays and talking about, look at Kasulki. He doesn't even know which way he's turning. Look at him. He doesn't even know where he's going. And, all the different things as they just embarrassed them with the little running backs. Well, now the Chiefs, in a sense, 50 years later, haven't been back to the game since that Super Bowl IV. Haven't been back to the game, and now go back with a generational offense. 50 years later. And remember, it was Lamar Hunt, whose name is on that AFC trophy. Lamar Hunt, who named it Super Bowl because the kid had a Super Bowl and Super Bowl, okay? But he's the one who gave it the name. It did not start as the Super Bowl. It became the Super Bowl. And it was Lamar Hunt who gave it its name, the Super Bowl. So there's a lot of history there with the Chiefs. And it'll be interesting to see, because somebody asked me today about tickets and everything. I said, you never know about ticket prices for games because if the Giants are there, the ticket price is going to be astronomical. If the Cowboys are there, the ticket price is going to be astronomical. If there's a couple of the teams, it could be a hot ticket. But those two, Giants, Cowboys, the tickets are always astronomical. But someone surmised to me today, you know what? Kansas City might have waited so long that their fans might be so rabid, they might really go crazy buying tickets this time. I said, you never know. They haven't been here in 50 years. Who knows? You don't know how to treat them. So they're back, bringing all that history with them 50 years later, 4 to 54. And then you have Andy Reid, who has done everything you can possibly do except win a Super Bowl. Now is his second try. His record is glowing. What he did in Philly, he has done with the Chiefs. He's put the Chiefs back on the map. They should have been in the They should have been in the Super Bowl last year. A D-Ford offside cost them a trip. Now they're back this year. He lost the Super Bowl by 3 points. Strange happenings in that game by Donovan McNabb. I still don't understand that game very well, what exactly happened in that game. But the bottom line is they lost it by 3 points. Now he's back. And all that stands between Andy Reid and being a stone cold lock as a first ballot Hall of Famer. First ballot. This guy is the 7th winningest coach in football history. All he needs to do is win a Super Bowl. His family tree is tremendous. His offensive genius is stamped. And he's got a ton of coaches who have had nothing but success. He has a great legacy. He just needs to win a Super Bowl. The 6 guys ahead of him on the all-time coaching list have all won titles. He has not. He needs this desperately. Bill Cowher just got in the Hall of Fame. Let's be honest. Andy wins the Super Bowl. Bill Cowher's career doesn't come close to Andy Reid's. It's not even an issue. Andy's a little stone lock. He just needs to win this game. And there'll be no more popular figure there. You heard him yesterday talk about how he just needs to go on a diet so he can get in his Miami clothes. I mean, that's Andy. That's what makes Andy Andy. That's what he was talking about. And going home and having a cheeseburger. I mean, that's Andy Reid. He doesn't take it all so seriously, but he takes the game seriously, and he'll have his team ready. Then on the other side, you have this Niner team that John Lynch and Shanahan put together. Shanahan knows something else knows a little bit about getting a heart broken in the Super Bowl too. But remember, there's also a history here. Not the Niners' history, because the Niners' history, listen, they were Super Bowl monsters. And then they haven't gone for a long time, except they went with Harbaugh and lost a tough game. We know that. And we know what their legacy is with Montana and Rice and Walsh and we know that. And it's been a generation for them, so you're all happy. I know they've been there once since, but the point is, it's been a while. And Lynch has done a great job building the lines, building a good offensive line, building a great pass rush. Bosa named Defensive Rookie of the Year, beating out Allen for Rookie of the Year. Allen had 10.5 sacks, Bosa had 12, and has had 3 in the playoffs. So they're a very, very impressive team, and they're a balanced team. And now, obviously, there's also the legacy of the offense that has been handed down from father to son. Mike Shanahan is the master of this zone blocking running game, what they call the zone running game. inside zone, outside zone. Okay? It's not been done by many people, but it has been copied by his son. It's what they run. It's what he won with in Denver. He took it to the Niners as an offensive coordinator, as you know, but the Niners didn't love it because they were more tied to the West Coast offense, which this is not. This is a different offense. And it is Shanahan's offense. And I'll tell you, Mike Shanahan came back in his last day, wasn't a pretty one. But he won 2 Super Bowls in Denver. He did a terrific job and obviously had the late Elway years and turned a guy no one ever heard of, and Terrell Davis, into a monster. Just like they yesterday turned a back who had been cut by 5 teams into a guy who put up record-breaking numbers yesterday. And it can be a very, very tough running game to stop. And they're also cute with their adjustments because I can tell you, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And I'll tell you, I go back to when I remember asking the old Giant staff back in the days of Belichick, Parcells and Belichick, what guy was the hardest to match up against? And they said unequivocally, the toughest guy to match wits with, their defense and somebody's offense, was Mike Shanahan. They both said it. They said at that time, this is back when they were together, they said the toughest guy to match up with, the one who posed the biggest problems, was Shanahan. And you saw Shanahan there yesterday, very proud dad, as he's able to hand the trophy to his son. He's already won a couple of Super Bowls. Now his son's on the verge as a head coach, having adopted his father's running game and taken it, obviously, to very, very impressive numbers with yesterday's performance, with what they did against the Vikings, with what they did yesterday to the Packers, rushing for almost 300 yards in the game. Not since Bob Greasy has a quarterback gone in playoff games and won like this, and they had that powerful Zonka and kick running game that they were able to, kick Zonka, Mercury Morris, that great Dolphin running game that they were able to use and just pound. And Greasy would throw, 8 passes, 9 passes. Bradshaw talked about throwing only 11 in his first Super Bowl. He made up for it in later Super Bowls when everything became Swan and Solworth from his right arm. That was the last 2 Super Bowls, the first 2 with defense in the running game. So the Niners have Shanahan having taken from his father this zone running game that they are exceptional at. And now his father won in Denver with it, won 2 titles with it, and now he's on the verge of winning a title with it. With this very, very balanced San Francisco team that can beat you with its defense and beat you with its pass rush and beat you with its speed and beat you with its running game and then go get you with Garoppolo and Kittle. They haven't needed Kittle in these playoff games. And this is a battle where you got 2 great tight ends who are both loons. And they are going to be darlings of the Super Bowl. Kittle and Kelsey are going to be darlings of the Super Bowl. I'm sure, Hill will say something stupid. I'm sure that's the case. I'm sure Sherman will say something stupid. But the guys who will be eccentric at the game will be Kittle and Kelsey. So you got great tight ends and great speed on the Kansas City offense. Great speed on the San Francisco defense. Bosa, a budding star there. Garoppolo and what he brought. The guy who was supposed to be the heir apparent in New England and now is in a Super Bowl in San Francisco. And John Lynch was a great player in his own right, a tough player and a great player, and who went about building this the way he thought his vision. I'm going to build both lines. And then he went and traded for the quarterback, made some brilliant drafts like getting Kittle where he got him, who's a all-pro player, a great player in his own right. and just drafting sensationally, and shows you how it can be done, Giant fans, if you have a design and you have a clue how quickly it can be turned around. If you know what you're doing. John Lynch knows what he's doing. Look what he's done in the last couple of years. Look at his drafts. Look at the players he's gone and gotten and the moves he's made. And now this Niner team is set up and is very impressive. Very impressive. Aaron Rodgers tried to put a scare into everybody yesterday in the second half after, basically being just, embarrassed in the first half. And it wasn't his best day. He actually was off on a couple of passes. He did make a couple of passes late that were just utterly brilliant. The one to Adams, the 65-yarder, I don't know if there's two people alive that could make that pass. That pass was so brilliant, it was unbelievable. But I thought there was a rookie coach involved. I would not have gone for two when he did because I don't want any negative plays there, and they didn't need it to. And number two, and he threw the ball behind them on the break on that anyway, but it was a bad throw. But that's not the point. The point is you didn't need to there. Plus, I would not have onside kick at that point. I thought it was too early. I would not have tilted the field because you don't win these onside kicks. The odds on getting them now is so minuscule, it's ridiculous. So I don't want to tilt the field that early. I thought that was a mistake. I thought it was a rookie mistake. But I don't think they were going to win anyway. Obviously, the better team won. But Aaron was within a bounce of the ball here or there, scaring the heck out of you, and maybe getting his backdoor cover, which he flirted with at the end of the game, as we know. But the two best teams, everyone talks about Baltimore. I don't think they're better than these teams. I don't think they are. I don't think they proved they were better than these teams. I think the two best teams are here. I before the season started, I thought Kansas City was going to come back and win it all, and I thought they'd play New Orleans in the Super Bowl. I'm still shocked by New Orleans losing to Minnesota, but they did. And the fact that they didn't stop Garoppolo to Kittle after they took the lead in that game in New Orleans, and I think the final was 48-46. I think that was the final that day. They kicked that field goal. He got down the field. He got the catch. Then he got the penalty, and they got the field goal at the end of the game. And they won that game. Might even been by a point, or it was either a point or two. And that game changed everything. And it cost the Saints dearly. So San Francisco's here, and they earned their way here. They've been overpowering with their very, very simple, very easy to understand, very hard to stop running attack. Basically inside zone, outside zone. It's not any more complicated than that. And then basically what you do is if you want to throw it, you run it like it's an outside zone play, bring the quarterback against the offensive line flow, let him drop back and roll with a little bit of a naked look, and then throw the ball down the field. That's what they do. That's their game. They throw it for depth, and they run it to make big plays. They want gaping holes. They don't want 4 yards. They want 24 yards. They want gaping holes. And you got a back who is very much Tim Smith-like. This guy's been cut by 5 teams, and he goes out yesterday and has a Tim Smith game for the ages. Breaks 200 yards. They get 285 yards rushing. Garoppolo basically is an innocent bystander. That's okay. He made one throw to Kittle he had to make, and his time will come. He's kind of an unknown in these playoffs because of that. He's a little bit an unknown. And he's going to get the short end of the stick with Mahomes, but you know what? Beware. I think that kid can play. I've always thought he can play. So I think you don't sell him short. And I think we're in for one hell of a game. I don't see either team embarrassing the other team. I think both these teams look like they can do some interesting things and challenge the other team. Clearly that running game can challenge the Chiefs. Clearly the Chiefs' passing attack. Remember, Niners are not great at both corners. Sherman, and I don't know why you don't throw at him more, because when they threw at him yesterday, the one time they did, there's only a 65-yard play over his head. Don't give him that. Go after him a little bit. I think the Chiefs will with their speed. Chiefs has more speed at wide receiver than any team I've ever seen in my life. And obviously, Hill is a game breaker of the first order. On a nice field, on a good track, that's going to be a very, very explosive Kansas City offense and an equally quick San Francisco team. There's a lot to like about both teams. And there's a lot to like about this matchup. I mean, there's a sentiment. I think if you're not rooting for anybody, I think it's real easy to be rooting for Andy Reid in this game. Because he's meant a lot to this league. And you know how much this one win would mean to his career. It would be a heartbreaking loss to come this far again and not get there. I hate to see that happen. I really hate to see that happen. So we're set up for some really good stuff. Like we said, Kansas City installed as a 1-point favorite. Maybe 1.5, depending where you are right now. 1.5, right about there. So it's negligible. I'm not into over-unders, never have been, but this one's in the mid-50s where you've got to figure is very legitimate. But you never know about that. Because you can get a ton of yardage and plays, instead of getting into the end zone, just happen to be stopped at the 5, and those wind up being field goals instead of touchdowns. And you also have a game where you don't move the ball that well, but there's 2 kick returns for touchdowns, and there's 2 short fields based on deflected balls that went for pick sixes. And all of a sudden you get 24 points that way, and the game goes over. It's why I always think that is a very random wager. You just don't know which way the game's going to go from that standpoint. So that's why I've never been that's just me, I've never been a big believer in that wager myself. But do I expect points in this game? Yeah, I think, listen, I don't think anybody, I'd be very surprised the winner isn't in, I'd be very surprised if the winner isn't at the earliest, the smallest number is at 28. I'd be surprised. I would expect the winner probably to be 30. But Kansas City can have its moments defensively, and San Francisco's a good defense. So it's not like you couldn't see somebody being held to 17. I really can't see the Chiefs being held to 17, I have to admit. But I think it's a heck of a game. I really do. In a lot of ways, and a lot of things to look for. And, hey, this game's going to – the storylines are going to be absolutely overrun. By the time the game comes around, you're going to be sick of hearing about every part of it and just ready for it to be happening. That is the 2 weeks that this game has become. And I'll tell you, for someone who's been going to the Super Bowl as long as I have been, and I've been going to Super Bowls for 40 years, there's no charm left at the game. The bigness of the game is just so overwhelming now that it's 2 different weeks. It's a convention to Saturday. It's a convention really like Saturday morning, and then it's a game. 2 different things. The week's a convention, and then comes a ball game on the weekend. That's really what it is. Ticket prices have been, because they were scalped for so long and turned over so amazingly, the NFL finally took the middleman out and decided to make the money themselves, so they've upped the ticket prices enormously, controlled ticket packages much more themselves, and made the allotment of tickets that hits the market very small. So it's become a crazy ticket. I mean, the top face value of the ticket now, there's a $5,000 face value ticket in the building. That means that's what it costs to sit in the seat. $5,000 for the one game. That's the top ticket. I think the least is $1,500 now. That's the cheapest seat, $1,500. That's in the upper deck, in behind the goalpost in the upper deck. That's $1,500. So you sit in a decent seat. Let's say you sit on a 10-yard line. It's probably $3,500 or $3,200, something like that, or $2,500, somewhere in that range. There's no cheap seats in the entire building. And there's just to give you an idea, okay, of what it's become. Dog and I went there when we were the only radio stations there. We've talked about that, okay? And where there might have been an event, there might have been the tailgate, the players' property, the NFL properties party, which used to be the big tailgate before the game so you had somewhere to go, okay? That used to be it. Now, just let me give you an idea, all right? Of what goes on there. During the week and into the weekend. And it is hysterical how many events there are leading up to the game. I mean, it is just crazy how many there are. Parties. And I'm talking about not just Saturday night where you know there's events, okay? I'm talking about all kinds of events that are going on before the game, Super Bowl events and all different things, parties on Saturday and Friday. It is unbelievable how many games and how many different things there are. There's concerts and there's players parties and there's best of the NFL and there's the Sports Illustrated party, then there's this party, that party, this party, that party. There is so much going on at that place during the week, starting with the NFL experience, which goes all week. It's crazy. I saw a list of it listed before. Okay. Look at this. Let's see. All right. Thursday, you have the Super Bowl Music Fest. Then you have the Super Bowl NFL Experience, then the Super Bowl Caribbean Pool Party, the Super Bowl Music Fest with Guns N' Roses. Then you have the Planet Pepsi Party. Then you have the Rosenhaus Sports Super Bowl Kickoff Extravaganza. Then the Bootsy on the Water Miami Takeover with Post Malone and DJ Erie. Then you have the Lee Steinberg Party, the Sports Illustrated Party. You have the Super Bowl Taste of the NFL. You have the Super Bowl Music Fest featuring Maroon 5. This is all within like 2 days. Then you have the Rolling Stone Super Bowl Beach Party. Then you have the Maxim Super Bowl Party, which is always a big hit. And that's not even up to Super Bowl day yet. And that's just a handful I gave you of the highlights. Then there's the Players Tailgate Party the day of with all the chefs and everything. And there's like 50 players in there, and they have memorabilia they sell you and everything. And that's like a block away from the stadium. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy how many different parties there are. And Shaq has a party, and then this one has a party, and then this one has a... it's crazy. And everyone's making a fortune on these parties. And you got players, getting paid to go to all these parties. And it's just insane what goes on there now. And these are all... these events are, like, expensive. They're not cheap. Lady Gaga's got a thing, okay? AT&T Super Bowl Saturday night with Lady Gaga. Tickets start at $300. Maroon 5 I told you about. Guns N' Roses. 13 more Super Bowl parties just on Saturday. DJ Khalid and Da Baby. I don't even know who all these people are. So I got to give you names now. I don't even know who they all are. Okay. I have to ask my kids. But, it's just one thing. And then finally there's a game. And right now, always on a day like this, the cheapest secondary ticket right this minute for the game, if you want to just say, okay, I want a ticket for the game, let me look and see. Go to one of these, ticket broker sites. Give me the game ticket. The cheapest ticket right now to get in is $4,600. That's to get in the stadium. Now, that'll come down. That's 2 weeks before the game. It'll come down. But it'll be probably in the high twos to get in the building. Right now, there are 3,000 tickets on this one site for sale, and the cheapest ticket is right now. Is when it's more is 40. It's down to 4,300. The cheapest ticket down to 4,300. Last night it was 5,000. Now it's down to 4,300. It'll keep coming down. But my point is, think about what you're talking about. That's to get in the building. $4,300. Crazy. Now, what we're going to do today, folks, before we take a quick break, is the fans got a basketball game on. Nets, right? And the Sixers. Is it over? They'll join us at 6 even? Okay, so they had said they might join us a couple of minutes before. They now are going to join us at 6 as always. But they asked me tonight, would I, because it's a holiday and they were in a little bit of a bind, would I stay on to 7? So I said yes. So from 6:30 to 7, I'm going to take some calls. So I haven't done that since I've been back on the air, but I will tonight. So about the games, because they asked me if I would fill in for them till 7 tonight. They asked me, they needed me to do it. So I said I would stay to 7. So on the fan. So we will do that. And it's also on radio.com. What we do on the fan is also always on radio.com. But we will be on the fan in about 15 minutes. And when we're joined on the fan, we'll do some stuff, and then we'll maybe even before 6:30 tonight, since we're only talking about the Super Bowl for the most part, we'll just open up and take some calls, which you haven't done any since whatever date was my last day there. I don't remember what it was the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, or December, whatever it was, the 8th, the 6th of December, that one was. So whatever it was. Anthony says the 6th. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll do that until 7 o'clock this evening. Did the Nets win that game? They were winning. They lost, huh? They were up 7 last I saw. They lost? Lost by 6. Okay, I didn't think they'd beat them anyway, but they were winning when I left. That's not supposed to beat the Sixers anyway. They're playing good teams right now in this stretch, so there's not much they can do. Let's see what basketball game they have on TV here right now. There's a lot of day games today, obviously. A lot of day games. And the Celtics are playing the Lakers tonight. Celtics all banged up, though. I don't know if either Walker or Brown is playing. They lost to the Suns the other night without those guys playing. So I don't know if they have either one of them playing tonight. And the Lakers won at the Rockets the other night. LeBron's playing great. And I'll tell you, you know who's playing great? Booker's playing unbelievable. He has had some run lately. He was 39, 10 and 9, 10 and 8 or something against the Celtics on Saturday night. That was a really wonderful performance. He's become a heck of a player. He's just about ready. I think he's the number 2 scorer in the league behind Harden since in the last month, right? I believe he is. And he's doing a heck of a job. Really is just a tremendous job. So right now, as we said, the game, which will come your way from Miami in a little less than 2 weeks, February the 2nd at 6:30 in the evening, is right now, Kansas City is a very, very, very slight favorite. They are, as we speak, a 1, and on this one, a 1.5, and then on this one, they are a 1.5 here too now. Okay, they were 1 before on this site. Now they're 1.5 on this site. So the money so far has been 1.5 and 53.5. That is the 1.5 straight up 110, 110. So 1.5 right now. So the money that's come in has been Chiefs so far. The Kansas City money is, the San Francisco money is probably holding. The early money's been Chiefs. Figuring, hey, I like the Chiefs, so I'm going to lock them inside a point. It's now going to 1.5. I see that Romeo's out in Houston. Hey, Romeo might be out, and he was never a great head coach. But you know what? Tell me what assistant's ever going to win more Super Bowls than he did. How many great teams was he on? He's got a box full of Super Bowl rings. He had a great, really great run. Just a tremendous run as a coordinator. And that D wasn't very good. Wasn't his fault, but it wasn't very good. That's all there is to it. So They just weren't very good. And I think that San Francisco's a little vulnerable at the one corner spot. I know Mosley's played better since they made, and I don't know why they ever went back to the other kid, because every time they went back to the other kid, he got torched, and then they had to go back to Mosley anyway. But they played better since he's been there. But I think you can go with Sherman, especially with speed. And then you can definitely go at the other side. So I think Kansas City's got a big edge there. Now the question is this: how much pressure can Boza and crew? And they're the best pass rush in the sport. How much can they put on Mahomes? And also the idea of Mahomes breaking the pocket and running, Mahomes getting outside containment and making throws on the run, the stuff that he does in that regard. And then on the other side, can Kansas City handle a running attack that neither... Now, Green Bay's defense, to me, I know some games they played really well. I never believed in the Green Bay defense. I never did. So the fact that they got stomped did not stun me. I was more surprised that they were able to line up against the Vikings and just run the ball the way they did. That surprised me. That really surprised me more. They ran for 186 against Minnesota. That surprised me more than the fact that they ran the ball on Green Bay. Now, they ran the ball on Green Bay for astronomical numbers. I mean, it was unbelievable what they ran for. They ran for 280 yards. 285 yards. That's stunning. I mean, here's a guy been cut 5 times and he goes 29 for 220. That's 7-6 a pop and 4 touchdowns. It's not a game, it's a month. I mean, this guy cut by 5 teams. Talk about having some stick-to-itiveness. Talk about keeping your chin up and believing in yourself. Cut by 5 teams, and you go on to have a game like that in a title game? Hey, there's a lot of names of guys who have shown up in title games and had big moments. You know, going back to Chuck Mercine. Or going back to, Timmy Smith in a Super Bowl. So it happens. It does happen where guys can just come out of nowhere. But this kid, and, if Coleman doesn't get hurt, and they took him off on the court last night, if he doesn't get hurt, this game never happens last night. But it put him up as the next man up, and what does he do? He explodes with some great offensive line play. Just some overwhelming play. And they put a lot of pressure, and their defense put a lot of pressure on Aaron early in the game. When you see Aaron dropping the ball, not only you see him making bad throws, but when you see him dropping the ball, he never drops the ball. I mean, never. So when you see that happening, you know he's under duress. And he was under – I only sacked him 3 times, but they put him under duress a lot yesterday. They really did. That was an impressive display by San Francisco yesterday. They played a very, very – 2 penalties. They played a very impressive game. They played a legit so if somebody said to me today, I like San Francisco, I would not have a problem with that. I could see why you would. I can see why you could like San Francisco in this game. I don't think it's. I could see why you would like Kansas City because you're a believer in the prolific nature of this offense. I can see why you would like San Francisco because of their balance. And because they have the better defense, and a lot of people go in the game and look for the better defense. And what might scare you is the fact that Kansas City has gotten off to such slow starts. They've trailed by double digits in both games in the first quarter. That worries you a little bit that they get off to a slow start. They don't want to try that against San Francisco. They got down 24 to Houston. They've got down 10 to the Tennessee, and were able to come back. You don't want to keep trying to go down 10 in every game and trying to come back. All right, take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by WFAN. And we will be, of course, riding along on radio.com. Just finishing up the Nets. Lost today to the Sixers. So that game is now the final. I guess it's just in the post game. Right now, I see the Knicks and Cavs are tied right now. But the final there was 117-111 as Ben Simmons had I see a very good game. 34 points, 12 of 14 from the floor. And I can tell you right now what that means. That means that Ben Simmons was beating the defense back down the court and getting layups, because I guarantee he wasn't beating you from the outside. So that means you were letting Ben get to the basket. And Ben had a triple-double, 34, 12, and 12. He's a talented player. He just needs to be able to make a shot. That's all. And 34 points, 12 rebounds, 12 assists, 5 steals. Quite a game for Mr. Simmons. But what he needs to do is be able to make a jump shot, and that's not what his strength is for sure. We know that when they're talking about him winning in a big, big spot. Lakers and the Celtics tonight. Celtics all banged up. Don't know about Walker and Brown. Neither played against in the loss to the Suns on the weekend. So we'll see if they play. I don't think Davis is playing right now either. He didn't play against the Rockets on Saturday when the Lakers beat the Rockets, and the Rockets have been in a slump, no question about that. And isn't Zion about to make his return? Didn't I hear he was making his return on January 22nd? I believe that is the plan, is it not? I think it is. I think unless it's been backed up, I thought I saw last week that the plan was for Zion to be back on January 22. So if that holds, that's 2 days away. So we will see if he is about ready. I know he's been making quite a mark for himself on the bench in recent games, but January 22 is that Zion's return. It also will be my late brother Marty's birthday, January 22nd. Anticipate rookie's return, January 22 versus the Spurs. Okay. Would make his return to action on the 22nd. There you go. So that's something for the NBA to have a little fun with, is that to bolster what has been a sagging deal with the ratings this year for the NBA. So that would be good. And I tell you, LeBron and the Lakers have had a very good year. LeBron's fresh. That's why he's had a very good year. Played very well at 31-12 against the Rockets on Saturday. Did a very good job there. So, and the team's doing very well. So, there we go. There we will be joined by them in a couple of minutes. And I'm sure I didn't look to see and I know the Titans defensive coordinator retired. Okay, that's not the first time he's retired either. So he retired now. Now he's been in coaching a long time. He's not young. Okay, he's been in coaching he's 70 years old. So it's not a surprise that he's retiring. So he has taken this time to retire. So that job is open now too. All right. So Dean Pease, was a good coach, 47 years. It's a long time coaching, really is. So he and Romeo Crennel out of the league at the same time. So Romeo is out as a defensive coordinator, and Pease is out as a defensive coordinator. He retires at the age of 70, and Romeo is replaced by Weaver with the Texans as defensive coordinator. So that's where we are. And you know what? Before you know it, for the rest of you guys, what you're going to be talking about is the NFL free agents. And here we go. Here's the free agent list, okay? And, also, you got guys on that list before you go goofy. Like Prescott's is on the list, but he's not going anywhere, okay, as an example. Now, is the other guy going somewhere? And the question I would have is this. And I raised this question last week once, so I'll raise it again here. If the Pats don't want to pay Tom Brady his money, and Tom evidently wants to get paid in full right now, which means he wants upwards of $35 million to come back per year. If the Pats don't want to pay him, and let's say he doesn't go to the Chargers. All right, we've joined WFAN now, they tell me, so we welcome the WFAN audience. And what we're going to do, folks, on the WFAN audience is after I take my first break, when we come back, I promise we'll take some calls because we're going to stay at 7 o'clock. They asked me to stay to 7 tonight because they needed me to stay. So they said, could you please fill the 7 tonight? We need it as a favor. And I said, yes. So I will take some calls since I'm on to 7 tonight. Brady's not retiring. We know that. He wants to get paid. We know that. Will he get paid? Yes. Will he get paid by the Pats or will he go somewhere else? That we don't know. Now, the question is, everyone has talked about the Chargers because the Chargers need to sell tickets. But I think the logical place for him to go is Tennessee. First of all, he and Vrabel are very close. Secondly, that's a ready-made team where, all right, if you're Tannehill, you got to go sit for a year and let Brady be the quarterback. But he goes into an infrastructure where they can protect him. He doesn't have to be quarterback heavy where if he doesn't want to throw the ball a lot that day, he's got Henry and he can throw a lot off play action. You got a team that's ready, made to be good, and you get Tom Brady. Now, I understand it's Tennessee, but you don't think of Tom Brady and star power and stuff like that. But what does Tom care? And he and Vrabel, the reason I bring it up is they're a ready-made team. They can protect them. And Vrabel and he are best buddies. So look at that as a possibility. The idea that Breeze leaves and let Hill and Bridgewater be the quarterbacks, I don't know what's going to happen there. I'm not going to say because I haven't really thought about it, and I don't know what they'll do there. I don't know what they'll do there. There's a lot of, that's an interesting group right there. Prescott's going to get franchise, you know that. I really don't see Breeze leaving New Orleans. I really don't. Clowney is a very interesting guy. The one thing you got to worry about with Clowney is him getting hurt all the time and not being able to play hurt or not wanting to play hurt. But he is, without question, when healthy, a premier difference maker. Premier player when he's healthy, but he does have a lot of these nagging injuries. And then there's a couple of linemen on there you can think about, a couple of offensive linemen. There's a couple of good ones. And then Amari Cooper. I don't know what I do with Amari Cooper from the Cowboys. That didn't end that pretty. So I don't know what they do there. I wouldn't be surprised they let him go. I know they gave up a lot for him, but I don't think they were in love with him this year. I don't know what his price tag will be. And Henry? Isn't Henry's a free agent too? Isn't he? Isn't Henry a free agent? I think he is. Yeah. But they're not going to. They're going to franchise him. They're not letting him go anywhere. They're going to pay him anyway. But he's not going anywhere. We know that. He's not going anywhere. That's not happening. Rivers, I think, will go to another team. I don't think Rivers will be on the Chargers. I think he'll go to another team. That I could definitely see happening. And if they win it all, I think Chris Jones will move on from the Chiefs too. If they don't win it, maybe not. If they win it, I think he moves on. I think that happens. He'll be another interesting guy. It's an interesting list. So you can start dealing with that, which is not that far away as the NFL goes right into its version of the hot stove, almost right away. And you get into it, whatever the date is in March. I didn't look and see what the first day of business is. Usually around the 8th or 9th or whatever it is, something like that. I didn't see what the day was. But, that'll be interesting to see. And in the next 2 weeks, they're going to belong, without question, going to belong to Mahomes. I mean, he is going to be the guy. He's, going to move up. He's become the guy as Brady and Rodgers and Breeze and even to a lesser extent Roethlisberger and Eli all kind of slide to the side, either play the last couple of years of their career, but all kind of move out of the mainstream. And Mahomes moves front and center, along with Russell Wilson, and Jackson if he keeps up what he did this year in Baltimore. And, but now Mahomes is the man. He's 24. He is the guy in the league. He's running the prolific offense. He's one step away from the Super Bowl. From winning a Super Bowl. And when he's supposedly a really good guy, he's a unique player. He's that player everybody likes to watch. He's an exciting player. So he's got a chance. He has a chance to, without question, emerge as the guy in the NFL. He is about ready to. This is a Super Bowl that can really establish him as the guy. And Garoppolo is going to spend 2 weeks in the shadows. There's no question about it. Despite the big trade, and despite how he's a very good-looking kid and all that stuff, Garoppolo is going to be the other quarterback here for 2 weeks. And you know what? That's not a bad place to be. You haven't thrown a lot of passes. You didn't play great when you threw the ball against Minnesota. You didn't have to throw the ball much the week later. So Garoppolo can kind of hang in the shadows. And you're going to have people question whether he can beat them. Hey, if they can't run it, can Jimmy G beat them? Can he make the plays and beat them? That's going to be a theme in this game. I think without question he can. Because the one thing that you love about Garoppolo is his win-loss record. To me, that's how you judge a quarterback. Don't tell me about he's got bloated stats, because you know what? Whose stats you want from Sunday? You want Aaron Rodgers' stats? Or you want Garoppolo stats? Right? Not even close. But you want to win the game. And you do what they ask you to do to win the game. That's all. The rest is nonsense. The rest doesn't mean anything. And what you got when the game was over and what you got when the game was down 30 points means nothing. And if those are going to question him, if people are going to question him and say, oh, he can't do it, I don't think he can do it, he's not considered, they're in for a rude awakening, because I think he absolutely can. And I think he's got a special thing going with that tight end. And I think the tight ends here are going to be the two real class clowns of this week. I think they're going to be the guys who are going to be up on the podiums with their wackiness and everything else, because that's who they are. Kittle's that way, and Kelsey's that way. I've interviewed Kelsey myself. Kelsey is a wacky. He's a whack job. Kittles looks that way too, but I don't know Kittle. I don't know him very much. But I've watched him play, and obviously he's a wonderful player. So that's where you are with that, and it's going to be very interesting to watch that unfold this week. All right, quick break here on The Fan, as we will take you, not to 6:30 tonight, as we always do. We will take you until 7 o'clock. What's on at 7 o'clock, guys? I don't know, but it's not. That's when
Steve Summers.
Oh, Steve is at 7. I don't know. I guess, okay, so they wanted Steve to come in later than they asked me and called me and asked me if I would stay to 7. I said yes. So tonight we're staying to 7. So we will squeeze in some calls for the first time in a long time. Back after this. He had his glory with New York, obviously being part of one of the great upsets. Didn't have a lot of success out of town. And now he has got himself another defense. Obviously, he is the other unit when you're dealing with the Andy Reid and the Kansas City offense. But he knows his way around the Super Bowl. He has won a Super Bowl. He has helped engineer a Super Bowl victory from that standpoint. The other thing is, I haven't heard what the reaction was. I didn't hear the fan much after Jason Garrett got hired. And I haven't heard a lot of reaction to him. So I don't know what the reaction was from the fans about Jason. I know Jason pretty well, and I think everybody likes Jason Garrett. I don't know anybody who doesn't. He's a very high-class guy. I don't think he's a bad football coach. I don't think he ever got a lot out of the Cowboys as a head coach. I think he's got a lot of North Turner in him, in that I think he's too nice a guy to be a good head coach, because I just think he wants the players to like him. That team never did it. Something was always missing with that team. You know, if they moved the ball well, they didn't force turnovers. If they did this wrong, right, they did this wrong. If they did that wrong, they did this right. If they did this right and this right, they did that wrong. I mean, there was always something missing. And the one thing I would say is, that's a little puzzling, is if the Giants, and especially Gettleman, want to pound their chest about how successful they think Daniel Jones was, then how come everybody who worked with Daniel Jones got fired? What does that tell you about how successful he was? Because nobody who worked with him got to stay. So he gets all new people around him. Now, the Giants, listen, it's very easy in this league to get from 4 to 8 or 9 wins. It's the easiest thing to do, and you almost have to be incompetent over a period of years drafting at the top of the draft, which the Giants now will be doing again another year. The Giants, that it's taken them this long, are the height of incompetency, because in this league is set up for you to go from 4 to 9 in the snap of a finger. What it's not set up for you to do is go from 4 to 13. Or 4 to the NFC title game. But it's set up for you to go from 4 to 9. Like that. So the Giants have been languishing, shows you just how inept they've been. They still haven't gotten that offensive line right. And now they got out of the way and build that offensive line. If they can keep their people healthy, well, listen, they have the fruits of these recent drafts where they've drafted at the top of the draft every year. They should be improving when you do that. You were able to get these guys on your roster. And the Giants look a lot better right now if they had Allen on their roster, too, because they needed a big-time pass rusher, which they're going to have to buy. Because they're probably in a spot where there's not going to be a pass rusher they love. There's probably going to be more of an offensive lineman. They'll probably wind up taking him. Then they have to go out and buy the pass rusher, which is very expensive. But could they improve from 4 to 8? Heck, the league is built for you to improve from 4 to 8. When you get to draft the top of the draft 3 years in a row, it shouldn't even be a question that you improve from 4 to 8. The Giants have been down so long, it's scary. So I'm not surprised, because I know that John Mara has always liked Jason a lot. Jason has giant roots. He's a head coach, so he's had success in the division. So he's a guy he's had a lot of success against the Giants, as a matter of fact. As a guy who's you're trying to take a little pressure off the young head coach. So you give him a guy who can run an offense, and you can hopefully leave alone in that area and not have to coach the coach. Let's see if it works from that standpoint. But listen, you would expect them to be better fast. I mean, that doesn't take a lot of doing. I mean, teams do it in this league all the time. Go from 4 to 8 wins very quickly, or 4 to 9 wins very quickly. The hard thing is to get from there to 13. That's the hard part, because that's what it takes to get, to get titles or to get, games in your building. And as Tennessee just showed you, it's hard to win three playoff games in a row on the road. It's not easy. You might be good 1 week, you might be good 2 weeks. Being good 3 weeks is not easy. And Kansas City had this thing break open for them. That's why I thought it was so imperative that they get to the Super Bowl this year, because New England lost the last week in the regular season to the Dolphins in their building to let them get a bye. And then Baltimore loses to let them get a home game in the AFC title game. They shouldn't even have had a playoff game, and they wound up with 2 and a bye. Things broke very sweet for Kansas City. And things also broke sweet for the Niners. The Niners were 2 plays away, a play in New Orleans and a play against Seattle, of being the 5th seed. Makes a big difference. 2 plays, they were away from that. Tony in Elmwood Park starts us off. What? He dropped? Okay, so it says Flip in Long Island. Go ahead, Flip. What's up?
Hey, Mike, I want to ask you a question about Brady. But you made a comment that he wanted to get paid this year. Did he come out and say that? Or
Yes.
that just
No, he's already said that.
He did say that.
Yes.
So
wants to be paid. Wants to be
curious.
paid at the top of the market. He's never been paid at the top of the market. He said now he wants to be paid at the top of the market.
So do you think that?
And that's $35 million type money.
Yeah. So do you think that's his way of basically saying, "Hey, I want out of New England"?
Listen, not necessarily, because listen,
but
they can pay him if they can pay him if they want to.
Right, but all these years he's taken less money,
yes.
right, for the majority of his career, just so they could build a team around him. And they've let go a lot of good pieces just to bring in young players, but it's always been in an effort to take money, put it around the team. And this year, I mean, you could argue that more than any other year in the last 10 years, they need an offensive line, they need receivers. They probably need more this year than ever. So for him to come out and say that,
well, they were inept this year. Listen, they didn't help him this year. Did they? They knew Gronk was retiring. Why didn't they go? Let's be honest. They did a bad job. The guys they drafted were bad. They drafted a wide receiver.
They have gotten a tight end though?
Wait a second. Listen, you can always get players. You can always make deals, and they made bad deals. They're the ones who went out. There were other wide receivers available when they started flirting with Brown, and bringing Brown in there. They didn't have to do that. They could have brought another wide receiver in there. They also drafted a wide receiver who was a bust. So they did a bad job this year. They did a bad job building around him this year. And he basically, I think, said, hey, you know what? It's time I get paid.
You think he's frustrated? So you think he's frustrated?
Well, yeah. And, sometimes when you've won...
Brown works out. That's not a horrible decision.
And sometimes, but he's too big a risk. And thanks for the call. But sometimes you reach a point where you say, you know what? Now I want to be paid. It's time I get paid. Remember, what Belichick gets paid doesn't count. Doesn't count against the cap, doesn't count anywhere. And nobody knows what he gets paid. I can guarantee he makes a lot more than people think he does. But nobody knows what he gets paid. Brady might. We don't. But, I mean, I know it's more than people think. Asher in Lakewood. What's up, Asher?
Yeah, Mike, it's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, what's happening?
Just a couple of points.
Yeah.
Good. So, as you know, so last year we were talking about the Wonder Boy coach in L.A., and, it's sort of like flopped. So what do you think about Kyle Shanahan? Now, it looks like he's going to become the new Wonder Boy. Do you think he's the real deal, or do you think...
No, listen, I don't think he's a Wonder Boy. I don't think any of them are Wonder Boys. I think, you know what? They're good. Some of them will stand the test of time, and some won't, and you don't know which ones will. So, to me, Asher, and thanks for the call, there's no such thing as a Wonder Boy. The guy who stands the test of time, and we don't know which one will. Some of them will get there faster than others when they do it consistently. The guy who has been consistent is Andy Reid. He's won 10 or more games forever. He's gone to 2 different places and won consistently. The problem is he's had a lot of heartache in the postseason. And that's followed him. So that can now end with this Super Bowl. And that's why it's such an important game for his career. That, to me, is the stand. Listen, anybody, I shouldn't say anybody, but most people can get there once. The question is proving you can do it time and time and time again. That's what shows how good you are. That's when your career is special. That's when you're a Hall of Famer. That's when you're a great, is when you can do it over the long haul and do it not once, but do it 10 and 15 times. And those are the guys who are special. And like a Belichick is, or Tom Brady is, or some other players who have been around a long, long time. It's not easy. It isn't being that good for that long. Sonny and Malvern, what's up, Sonny?
Hey, Mike, pleasant surprise.
Yeah,
Great
what's up?
You taking the calls.
What's up?
A couple things. One, Jason Garrett, the fans' reaction was very positive, by the way.
Yeah.
I think most fans
I'm
really
a little surprised. I'm a little surprised that they would like it that much. Now, there's a big difference between being a head coach and being an assistant. A big difference. Okay, there's not.
Yeah, they know that, but it's
right.
just about his likability and stuff.
Well, he's a very likable guy, but you know what? It puzzled me that they would go get a guy who had just had so much trouble in the division. It did surprise me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, as far as the game, Mike, I really like San Francisco's chances here. I think they have a great defensive line. Defensive lines, as you know, can wreck games. You look at the last two Giants Super Bowl wins. They have a great offensive line. They opened up holes for a guy that got cut by 7 teams, and he ran for over 200 yards. They got Jimmy G, who, listen, they haven't utilized him because they haven't needed to, but he can win a game. Like you said, he's a winner. Look at his record. And I didn't like Kansas City starts in these last 2 games. I mean, very sloppy. And if you fall behind 10, 17 points by San Francisco, guess what? You're not coming back, Mike.
Kansas City has got to come out of the box crisper than they have the last 2 games, but their offense is prolific. It's a prolific offense, and that's what makes this a good game. I think you can, and thanks for the call, Sonny, you can like both teams in this game. You can make a case for both teams in this game. I have no problem with anybody saying San Francisco's the better balanced team. They got a better balance between offense and defense. Okay, they have speed themselves, blah, blah, blah. Hey, there's a lot to like about both teams in this game. I can see somebody like in Kansas City thinking it's their time, thinking that Mahomes is a special player. They do have an insane amount of speed. Absolutely insane. Kansas City's receivers are open by what we call NFL standards on 46% of their pass plays. And open means that there's not a defender within 3 yards of you. 46% of their pass plays. That's unbelievable. It's way ahead of anybody else in the league. And these guys, when they're in front or they're have a cushion, they're gone. They're absolutely gone. You can't give Hill an angle. You give Hill an angle, it's a touchdown. It's automatically a touchdown. How Kyle Shanahan blew a 28-3 lead as an offensive coordinator. That is one of the dumbest things you will hear anybody say. Do you know how much I blame Shanahan for what happened in that Super Bowl? 0. As in 0. He was not the head coach. That head coach should have been on the splitter, and if he doesn't have a splitter, then he shouldn't be the head coach. Should have been on there, and he should have told his offensive coordinator, run the football. Listen to the play call and said, run the football. You're not allowed to throw the football. Run the football. Here's what I want you to do. Here's exactly what I want you to do. I'll take over the game situations. I am in charge of the game. You're not calling any more plays. Now, I don't understand that Shanahan wanted to open up and admits now I made a mistake. He should not have been ever allowed to have any say in what went on there. When you're the head coach, the game management, and that's what these guys have lost. And maybe with the Giants getting a guy who's a special teams coach, he will take command of that. That's what you need, because that's what good head coaches do. They take command of the game. The game is theirs. It's not a coordinator's. It's theirs. And at that point, when he got the first down, when Julio Jones got the first down and Belichick flipped his clipboard because he knew the game was over, at that point, they never needed to throw the ball again. And not get the quarterback sacked, and not get a strip sack, not get anything. And they never would have lost that game. But do I blame the coordinator? Not one iota. He is not in charge. Now he's in charge. Coordinators are not head coaches. And that's what's lost so often now with these guys who become who are coordinators who become head coaches. They're not like real head coaches. It's like they abdicate who's in charge of the game. The head coach, his job is to coach the game and manage the game. That's his primary job. And so many of these guys skirt that. And that's why those games are lost. That game should never have been lost. Anyone with a brain would have brought that game home that night. Go look at that game and then see when Julio Jones gets that first down what Bill Belichick does. He knows the game's over. Except it's not. Because, you know what? Never, as one coach always used to tell me, never discount ignorance on the other side as being a factor. And in that case, they actually made the comment after the game, we wanted not only to beat them, we wanted to rub their nose in it. Oh, really? That's your job now. That's your job. See how many points you can win by. Ugh. Insane to lose that game. Insane. Richard in Manhattan. What's up, Richard?
Mike, Andy Reid won that game at the end of the first half. 1 minute, 15 seconds. Tennessee punts the ball. They have the ball. Kansas City has the ball on their 13-yard line. 31 out of 32 NFL coaches would have ran the ball on first down, see how many yards they get. What did he do? On first down, he throws it downfield, 18 yards, goes to the 31, and they were off and running. That's when the game was over. One more point, Mike. During the NFL season, the passing yardage to run yardage was 3-1, 272 yards passing, 104 yards rushing averages. When it comes to the playoffs, in the 10 games during the playoffs, it goes down 2-1 passing to rushing. So you can see that the running game still is important, especially in cold weather at the end of the season and in playoff games.
Well, Richard, one thing, you're giving Andy way too much credit. There were 1:51 left.
No, it's a 131.
151.
Okay.
151. You're always going to come play. You'd be crazy not to. It's a playoff game. You got a great quarterback. You're always going to come. No one's ever putting a ball in a deep freeze with 2 minutes left. There's no way.
I think there was less than that, Mike.
I'm telling you, I know exactly what was left. There was 151 left when they started the drive.
Yeah, but if they go 3 and out, Tennessee's got a lot of time.
Wait a second. Tennessee's just trying to get. They're not going to get the ball back again. But the point is, they're not going to run a clock out there. They're going to try and score and then get the ball and score coming out.
On the 13-yard line, NFL coaches are very
not with 2 minutes left. Not down. I mean, you got it, and you're in your home. You're home. Now, you're giving them. Thanks for the call, but you're giving them way too much credit. There's no way with a good quarterback and a good offense, and they have a prolific offense. There's no way you're not going to try and score there. There's 2 minutes left in the game. That's a 2-minute drive. You get the drive started, okay, and away you go. And that's what he did. I mean, he got the ball out, and if I remember right, the first play was a pass to the back, which he broke and went 17 yards with a safe pass play, and away you go. There's your what you call your Joe Montana drive starter. Safe play that gets your drive started, and now you're off and running. And that's exactly what they did. And they wound up scoring there. But 2 minutes left in your building, down 4 point, down 17-14, you're going to come out with the ball. I mean, you got a great offense. You're going to try and score. So I'm not going to go crazy there. I think Andy's got to try and score there. I would never think he wouldn't, to be honest with you. Ira in Staten Island, what's up, Ira?
Hey, Mike, good to hear you.
Yeah.
You totally, I couldn't agree with you on both points. First of all, with Shanahan, with Atlanta, that was on Quinn. And definitely with Andy yesterday, he's definitely going to go down the field with that type of offense that he has.
Absolutely. He thinks he could score twice with 1:51 left.
And you know what? He probably could. And, going into the San Francisco with the Super Bowl game, listen, you take the quarterbacks out of the equation. I think on paper, the 49ers are better because of the defensive
Well, they're
side
more
of the ball.
balanced. There's no question they're more balanced. No question.
But the Chiefs, this is Andy's time. He's waited a long time. He's got pieces in place right now offensively, and he's got a quarterback that if he stays healthy, this kid is going to be so.
Let me tell you this. Andy Reid has moved the ball. First of all, Andy Reid has moved the ball against let's take Belichick as an example. Move the ball better per game against Belichick than anybody in the history of the football.
Absolutely.
Andy Reid, with 2 weeks to prepare, will come up with a sensational offensive game plan. They will move the ball. What I worry about is two things. One, the Chiefs are very sloppy. Very sloppy. A lot of stupid penalties, a lot of mistakes. And number two, I do worry about them being overpowered by this zone running game. It scares me. That's my two fears. And I think you're going to get a close game. I think if you got a blowout, it would be blowout Kansas City, not blowout San Francisco. I don't think anybody's blowing Kansas City out. I think their offense is I think their offense is too good. I think you're going to get a very good game, though. I think it's going to be a very, very good, very close, very solid football game.
I agree. I think the Chiefs will put up at least 30 points, and they have to win now because you know
Listen,
as well
this
as
is it.
else.
This is it.
You have to because of Mahomes.
Not only that, not only that, Ira, everything broke right this year. They weren't even looking at a home game, and the Pats lose to the Dolphins.
All the cards were in line, and
everything broke their way. Everything broke their way.
They got to sign Mahomes to a contract.
Well, they'll do that. But they'll do that. But you know what? It's going to cost you other players. There's no question. It's going to cost.
Well, that's it. He's going to get $40 million.
Yes, he is.
He's going to get a five-year, $200 million.
Now the cap's going to be 202, is what I'm hearing. So 202. So you can pay him. And thanks for the call. You can pay him a little more money, but still, you're right. When you start to pay the quarterback that kind of money, you can't pay Chris Jones. You can't pay, every defensive guy you want to pay. So you lose something with that. And that's why you can't sit a quarterback for 3 years anymore, because it economically doesn't work. That's where the league has changed so radically. You've got to make money on that first. You've got to make hay on that first quarterback contract. Steve in White Plains, what's up, Steve?
Mike, before my Jason Garrett question, can you give Giants fans a quick synopsis of their new DC, Patrick Graham? You know anything about him?
I do. I'm not overwhelmed by him, to be honest with you. I think, though, before you get anywhere hung up on defensive coordinators, realize the Giants are in incredible need of defensive players. They still need major, major pass rushing talent. Lawrence, the kid they drafted out of Clemson, is going to be a good run stopper. He is a good run stopper. A couple of kids in the secondary are okay, but they desperately need a big pass rusher. Now, the kid from the Jags that they would have gotten is a major pass rusher. He had 10.5 sacks as a rookie. He's a major pass rusher. Now, could you have gotten the quarterback back in the middle of the draft, in the middle of the first round? We can argue that all night. I don't know. They might have been able to get both. Who knows? But before I'd worry about the coordinator, I want to worry about the pass rush, which is really non-existent. Their defense never improved last year. It never improved. Jason knows how to fit all the parts. What I wondered about with him is the mentality of the mix of bringing in a guy, of having you see, Judge is such a fresh start. Why bring in a guy who's got an incredible amount of baggage inside the division? That's the one problem I had with Jason. I like Jason personally, and Jason won't rock the boat. He's not a troublemaker. He's a solid coach. From that standpoint, you won't have a day's problem with him, but he's not a leader. That's not who he is, but he's not a bad X's and O guy. He'll be okay there. I just wondered about bringing somebody in with so much baggage. He's got a lot of baggage. What do you
mean by baggage?
He's got a lot of scars. He lost a lot of big games in that division.
As a head coach, right?
Yes, he did. But you know what? Why did you need to go there and make that part of your staff now? Why not get a whole new dynamic staff with a young guy like this?
Who's out there that you would have hired if you had your druthers?
Well, you see, I was going to hire a veteran guy on one side or the other side for him. So I would have gone with an old hand on one side or the other. So if I'm going to go younger on the defense, I'm going to have to go older on the other. But I would have liked North Turner better for the Giants than I would have liked Jason. I think Norv
Well,
would.
I have to agree with you
I
there.
think Norv would have fit really well and would have fit very well with this quarterback because this quarterback throws a very good deep ball, and you have the makings of an offense that is run, and throw it deep. That's what this offense is. Take shots and let your running back do what he does, build the offensive line, and do it very simplistically, attack easily, attack with the running game, and then attack with the passing game. Dallas only had about 7 plays, but they all worked because you couldn't stop them. And that's what they did. They ran lead draw, and then they killed you with the passing game, and they went down the field with the passing game. And I think this kid has the ability to go down the field with the ball. He's just got to stop fumbling the ball, and he's got to have a better pocket awareness. I thought he would have been perfect for the Giants myself.
Agreed. Is he still unemployed?
I think he is, Norv. I don't think Norv signed with anybody yet that I know of. I'd have to look, but I don't think he has. I think he's out of the league right now, I believe.
I wonder if he has the desire to continue.
I don't know where he is right now. I'd have to check. I think he's out of the league right now, unless he signed with someone I didn't see. I know that Wade's back in the league now with Cleveland. So I know Wade's back in. I don't think Norv's back in though. That I see. I don't think he is. But that's the guy I was looking for after he was let loose. But again, I don't think Jason will hurt you. I just think he's got a lot of baggage in the division. Norv's out of the game, right? I think he is, right? I think he still is. Yeah. All right, Alex and what? His son's in, but he's not. Yeah. Alex in Bernardsville. What's up, Alex?
Hey, Mike. Happy to talk to you again.
Yeah. What's happening?
A couple of quick points. You're talking about the Chiefs being sloppy. I always go back to last year's AFC Championship game with D Ford. Lining up offside.
Well, how about yesterday early in the game? They got a 3rd and 22. Why would you hit a receiver? Let him catch the ball, and then they got a field goal. Why run through him on 3rd and 22?
Unreal. It's unreal. And I think you're going to see a bit like a play like that affect this game. I can see it coming back to haunt him just the way it did last year. And then I got a question for you. Well, kind of 2 questions. One, imagine if Kareem Hunt was still on this team, the explosiveness that they would have. And 2, do you think there's going to be any like D Ford, Andy Reid kind of theme types going into the game?
I think that's old hat now. They've won. They got back to the Super Bowl. I think that's washed. I mean, listen. It was an unfortunate thing that went on. D Ford played well, and thanks for the call. He played well for them. He was offsides by here to the. Andy went to the official and said, "Hey, you're making that call now," and the official said, "Andy, he was offsides by like 5 yards. I had to call it. It's not like he was offside by a foot. He was offside by like 5 yards. He had to call it. He had no choice. It was a tough break last year." What I worry about them is they're still undisciplined. What I don't like about them, too, is they got some guys that have jerk mentalities that are me-type guys that I worry about exploding in the big spot. They have more guys that scare me that way than the Niners have got some cocky players. And I might not know the Niner guys as well as I know the Kansas City guys because I've been watching the Kansas City guys more. So the Kansas City guys got some guys that scare me in a Super Bowl setting. I don't know about the jerk quotient. I mean, I know Sherman's got jerk quotient in him, but he's usually a pretty tame, big game player. Kansas City's got some guys that worry me in that regard, and they commit a lot of dumb penalties. Like yesterday, Green Bay had San Francisco had no penalties in the game. They had, I think, 2 for the game, and the Chiefs had 9 penalties, most of them in the first half. I mean, that's too many penalties in this game. I mean, just dumb mistakes. You've seen a blocked punt. You've seen a muffed punt return. You've seen them get out of the gate so slowly in these first 2 games. In the first 2 games, they've trailed by 10 and 24 in the 2 playoff games at home, and they've been outscored in the first quarter badly. And they've only scored 7 points in the first quarter, but they have scored an insane, in 2 playoff games, 42 points in the second quarter. Remember, in the middle of the game yesterday, from 17-7, they outscored them 28-0. 28-0. And in the game against the Texans, they scored on 8 straight possessions. That's insane stuff. But yesterday, the sneaky part was give Spags credit because the unsung heroes yesterday that got no attention was the defense did a great job. From 17-7 down until it was 35-17, their defense gave up nothing and did not let Henry hurt them. And you know what? New England couldn't slow down Henry. Baltimore couldn't slow down Henry. Kansas City, in that middle part of the game, here was 5 carries by Henry. 1, no gain. 3, 4, no gain. And 2 pass plays that both went for minus yardage. That's 7 plays on which he did not get more than 4 yards on any play. That's defense. Steve Summers is next. We'll see you tomorrow.